Hello! It is the end of May and it is the prime moment to sow your biennials. So biennials are plants that flower the year after they've been sown, as opposed to annuals, which are plants that flower the same year as they've been sown. Some examples of really nice biennials that we grow in Britain are Sweet William, Sweet Rocket, Foxgloves. They're my absolute favourites, they're fantastic. So I'm going to sow some today, and it's no different to sowing any other seed. You want to take a seed tray. I like these small ones, you use less compost though. You're a bit of a tight Yorkshire woman. And for little seeds like this, I tend to use bought compost. I use Melcourt's Silver Grow, which is wood based, it's peat free. I'm just going to firm it down a little bit so the seeds have got something to grip into. Then you take your seed. Now you can see here that I did some yesterday, so I'm going to do some more today. And I'm sowing here Sweet Rocket, which can either be pink or purple, and no, white or purple, and this is a mixed packet. So they're quite small seeds, I don't know if you can see that there, about 1 millimetre across. And I'm sure you know this, but the smaller the seed, the closer to the surface you want to sow it. So if it's a bean or something big, poke it right down. But if it's a small seed like this, fairly close to the surface. So I'm just going to scatter these around, like that. And then I'm going to put a fine layer of compost on top. Now the reason I'd use bought compost for this is not because any inherent superiority, but there is less likelihood, in fact almost no likelihood, of there being weed seeds in there. And when you're looking at seeds and they've just germinated, it can be really difficult to know what's a plant and what's a weed. So I've put a little layer on top, about 1/2 centimetre, and again I'm just pushing it down just a little bit, mostly so that when I water, the seeds won't all start swimming around on the surface. So I'm going to water them in with a fine rose there. Just pass it over a couple of times, like that. And I'm actually not going to put these in the greenhouse because it's a really warm time of year and I think it's getting a bit too hot in the greenhouse. So as with these other biennials that I sowed yesterday, I'm just going to pop it outside. We have a bit of a problem with blackbirds going into my pots, trying to find worms I think, but I'm going to take that risk and grow them on outside. It is imperative that you label your seed tray. If you're like me, you forget, you think you'll remember later, you won't. So make sure you label it. So that was our Sweet Rocket, lovely purples and whites. I've also got a mixture of Sweet Williams. They are in here. So that proper name is Dianthus Barbatus, and this is Electron Mix. They're really nice and tall. They're flowering right this moment. They're filling my bouquets and my posies. They're just gorgeous. And I've also got, these aren't strictly biennials, these are short-lived perennials, but some Aquilegias. So I've got lime sorbet and Hensel harebell, and that's a sort of limey, as it says, limey white and a deep purple. And again, Aquilegias are flowering right now. So if I sow now, these will flower in about a year. Now the other one I mentioned was Foxgloves. These have got tiny, tiny seeds, almost like dust, and they come by the 1,000. And rather than spending time sowing seed and having to nurture them, I'm just going to, and I have already, pot up some that have already self-seeded in my garden. I'll just go and get a tray. Here are some Foxgloves that I dug up from my allotment. You can see they're all vaguely different sizes. I don't know if you know this about Foxgloves, but if you're hoping just to get the white ones, or just to get the purpley pink ones, you can tell by their stems. So they have a sort of tinge to them. So this one, for example, I can tell this is going to be a white foxglove because it's purely green on its stem. Yep. Whereas the purpley ones, let's find one, there, they've got a sort of hint of purple at the base there. It's quite subtle, but it's very handy to be able to recognise it. And as it happens, I don't mind, I like both of them, but sometimes all you want is white, particularly if you're going for shade. Right, so your biennials, you generally plant them out in about September. Which is a good moment because you might be taking other things out, so you'll have some new space. These foxgloves I am going to put in sooner because they're already quite big and I don't want them to sit in pots for months. But these little guys, because they haven't even germinated yet, I'll grow them on at home. I will prick them out into individual pots because they will outgrow this compost really quite quickly. And then I will put them into the garden in about September.